Debate, reprise de débat. The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it's a pleasure to be able to address the House today and speak on the issue of the implementation of the budgetary plan that this government is attempting to provide to the House to make sure that Canadians have the best opportunities possible. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw your attention today to an article that I read in the Toronto Star, which actually was quite important, I think, for this House to hear. And it was about the incidence of child poverty in urban centres across this country. And it looked at a relative rating of each of the cities in Canada at the number of children living in poverty in their homes. And I want to preface this by talking about how pleased I am with the government's cornerstone part of this budget, which is attempting to raise children out of poverty by increasing the child benefit through the Canada Child Benefit, which I believe is the largest, single most important piece of public policy to change the social nature, social fabric of Canada. Today in the paper it was reported that a group of leading institutions and agencies that address child poverty have looked at Toronto as a city I represent, that has 27% of children in that city living below a level of income in their family that is sustainable. That compares to other cities in Canada like Montreal, which is just below at 25%, Winnipeg at 24%, down to Edmonton and Calgary, which are doing quite a bit better than Toronto. And the article actually talks about two young women, Zara, who lives in Thorncliffe Park, and Sarah, who lives in Leaside, sibling neighbourhoods in Don Valley West. Leaside has the lowest rate of child poverty in the City of Toronto at just over 5%, whereas Thorncliffe Park has 58% of child poverty. It's a stunning nature of this. And I think that as we begin to look at this, and our party has been very clear that we have an agenda ensuring that the middle class is raised up and that people aspiring to get to the middle class also raised up. And I want to focus my attention today on those who are aspiring to join the middle class. And that is one of my main agenda items, and making sure as we look at 2016 and 2017 and 2018, we actually have a very aggressive platform, not only to help the middle class, but actually to ensure that those who have poverty, those children particularly that are facing the kinds of struggles that some of us have known ourselves, but others of us have only known about, have every chance and every opportunity. Salma Jabin is a resident in my riding, and her 4-year-old daughter would like to have taekwondo and gymnastics lessons, and she wants to have the kinds of toys that she sees other children having. But her husband is a security guard, and on their income simply cannot afford the kinds of things that other children in Canada have come to expect. But equally, Sarah Jordan, who lives just across the valley in Leaside, recognizes that she is a privileged Canadian, and I'm very proud to say that she and her sister Claire have united together to form Sarah and Claire's Food Drive, and they are looking at a way to partner these neighbourhoods together to ensure that we in Canada have a way of distributing our resources to make sure that people have a fair start, that children have the best advantage in life. Last Sunday, the member for Eglinton Lawrence and I hosted a town hall on next year's budget. And I can't tell you how very proud I was and how much it was a great privilege for me to commend our Minister of Finance for his tremendous effort at lifting children out of poverty. The Canada Child Benefit is going to lift literally hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty. This is tax-free income going into families' households that will make a difference. Their parents will be able to pay their rent. They'll be able to provide groceries. They'll be able to provide those special things that children want to have, the lessons, the kinds of activities that not only sustain their life but enrich their lives to make sure that Canada is the country that we want it to be. I think that what I'm seeing in today's article, in that blending of those who have more want to live in a country where all have more to benefit from, more access to those things which are beneficial to their lives. And I think that what this budget is doing, and as we implement it, there's an opportunity for Canadians to say, we want the very best quality of life for every Canadian. We want to make sure that Canadians who have been here 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, or for generations, or First Nations who have built this country can all share equally in both the resources and the opportunities that we have. The cornerstone parts of this budget, looking at the way we live together, the covenant that we have as Canadians, is going to ensure that Canada is built upon the sense that we have of taking care of each other. The report that came out today, though, is disturbing. And it should, I think, be on the mind of every member of this House of Commons that each of us has a responsibility to look beyond those that we might know individually on our own personal level at those in our community who are hiding in places of poverty that we simply don't get to often enough. I think that when we open up our minds to that, we have the chance to actually make a difference in our world. I'm very proud to support the budget and the implementation acts that will make sure that it comes into being, because it's the opportunity for us as Canadians to make sure that our country is built on those foundations. Of course, my first concern are the children in my riding, that child poverty is reduced, that we actually have targets, that we actually can say that at the end of the day we've made a difference, that there are children who are getting post-secondary education, that are getting the careers they want, that have enough food to eat to succeed well in school. And this budget, I think, is doing that. And I'm going to be a little critical of my own government because I think they have put the emphasis only on the middle class without actually celebrating what this budget is doing for those who are beneath the middle class, that we have not lost sight of those people, that in our communities there are people who are being left behind, and by ensuring that we have better employment insurance, that we have old age security and Canada pensions that are stronger and better, that we bring the age of retirement back down to 65 from 67, that we encourage infrastructure spending which will create more jobs to make sure that people are employed, that we have a foundation upon which to build. That is the way this budget is about. This budget, I think, is at its heart a people budget. It's people-centered, and it is going to make a difference in the lives of people that we care about, every one of us in this House. I don't think we have a monopoly on social care and social conscience on this side of the House. I have seen that exhibited by members in all parties across the aisle. I have heard your stories, and I think that this budget actually is worthy of your support as well. I think that you should have a chance to look at this. They should have a chance to look at this, Mr. Speaker, and you might remind them that in your own way at any point you want, that every member of this House has an opportunity to look at this budget and say, this is a budget that is changing the nature of Canada. It is well-funded. It is targeted investments. It is going to invest in the infrastructure that's going to make a difference. It's going to help people get to work as we invest in transit and roadways. It's going to ensure that our country is being built on that strong foundation. It will make a difference in the lives of every Canadian. So I actually encourage those on the other side of the House, if they'll actually take the time to read the budget, they'll have a sense that this budget is changing the way Canadians covenant with each other to both build the economy and make sure we can share in it equitably. I'm proud to offer my support for the budget. I think that Canada is a richer country because we're able to share with each other. As newcomers make their way in this country, we have a sense that they will contribute to the economy, but we have to give them a chance. I think that the Minister of Finance has done a brilliant job at consulting. He is continuing to listen, and he will continue to offer the kinds of leadership that Canadians are looking for. And I thank you in anticipating your support for this budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments?